Hello, good morning. Welcome to Business on Newsdesk. Some energy experts are cautioning the incoming administration to manage challenges in the energy sector urgently. According to the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, this is imperative because power supply from the nation's hydropower sources are still unreliable. On the part, Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, KITE, is urging government to focus on alternative sources of power to prevent a possible energy crisis in 2017. The Executive Director of KITE, Ishmael Ejikumihene, warns that cost of power production will surge next year if government fails to address the high cost of utility.
Energy remains the key driving force behind the success of businesses in Ghana. Unfortunately, successive governments have not been able to find a lasting solution to challenges in the sector. For now, the thorny issue of financing has been identified as undermining the proper management of a sector. The debt overhanging operations of the Volta River Authority, the country's indebtedness to Nigeria Gas, as well as the departure of the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah for major maintenance works make another energy crisis imminent if not well managed. Executive Director for the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, Ishmael Ejikumihene, says the supply of power will be stable in 2017 only if the incoming government tackles the outstanding debts in the power sector.
There are any quick fixes when it comes to one's indebtedness. If you owe several millions of dollars, unless you're able to defer the repayments, like they were told they were going to issue bonds and have it paid over a period of time, then there are very little options than to look for money to not just run or provide the recurrent expenditure, but also to find a way of making sure that you've dealt with the debt situation once and for all. So in the short term, and I don't know what we define as the short term, we really must make sure that we have crude oil to run these plants. Ultimately, somebody has to pay for it, but we need to ensure that we have crude, because if the Jubilee fields are going to be shut down because of the FPSO, the problem with fixing the FPSO, it means that we need more crude, light crude oil, to power the thermal plants.
The FPSO Kwame Nkrumah will be shut down for the next 3 months following maintenance works. This development has raised fears among some business owners who say the situation could affect production. But Ishmael Ejikumihene is hopeful that local businesses will not be affected by the shutdown.
The good news now is that we do have installed capacity. We do have the plants. If we have the fuel, we should be able to keep the system running. Well, as for the debt, somebody has to pay. The bottom line is that the utilities are owned by government. Their VRA is 100% state-owned. ECG is 100% state-owned. So when a business is running at a loss, normally it's the owners who are supposed to recapitalize the businesses. I doubt if our governments will have the money to clear all those debts. So I think the strategies are what they are trying to do with the banks, which basically is saying that let's try and turn all these debts into bonds over a period of time. So that's what I believe they are renegotiating with them. If we had options, I would have said that let's clear those debts by paying directly so that the utilities can be made to stand on their own and start on clean sheets once we are determined not to repeat the mistakes that brought them to where they are in the first place. But in the absence of the ability to just pay off significant proportions of these debts, we may have to settle with these bonds that they are trying to do. But there are pressing cash flow situations like getting money to buy the crude oil that we need whilst the Jubilee fields are down because of the FPSO problem.
All right. It has always been argued that the rate at which government borrows from the market often serves as a benchmark for interest rates. Therefore, with recent consistent decline in treasury bill rates, that should have been good news for businesses. But Managing Director of ADB, Daniel Esidu, is rejecting reports that the banks are not responding to this development.
We're right to say that the banks are not responding. First of all, I think a few years ago, Bank of Ghana came up with a formula for calculating the base rate, which is the minimum we lend to the general public. And you discover that a very major component of that formula is the TB rate. Every time the TB rate drops, it affects our base rate. And we are mandated to review our base rate on a monthly basis. And when you compute it, it's transparent now. So when you compute it and it drops or increases by a certain basis points, then you are supposed to publish. So it's automatic. What has happened is that I think the rates just dropped in less than maybe 3 weeks ago. And so it would take time because, again, a lot of these facilities have been locked in. It is when we are repricing that becomes obvious. So it would take a while. But almost immediately you see banks repricing their base rate because we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. That's one. Two, I've always argued that, look, how many banks do we have in this country? Plus the banks plus institutions holding banking licenses that have not started operation, maybe about 33, 34. In our market with 34 banks, we are under a lot of pressure. So the only way we can survive is to make sure that we are competitive. If you come to me and my interest rate is high, I can assure you that by the time you walk down the street and you go to the next bank, because they think you're a good customer, they will do all that they can. There's some transaction we have done. I have approved everything for this customer and all that. And then the other bank that this customer deals with goes to say, no, we can never allow you to move because we think you're a good customer. And suddenly the bank is saying, okay, I'm ready to even do better than what this other bank is offering you. So competition will force us to be reasonable in terms of our pricing. But like I said, I don't think it's a case of we not deliberately coming down, but it's a case of we repricing at the appropriate time.
And that's all in business for now. We'll bring you more business updates at midday. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Good morning.